Hello guys, welcome to another episode of the Red Devils Disciples. We have a big game on our hands tonight with the fifth round of the FA Cup, where it is Nottingham Forest versus Manchester United at the City Ground. We're coming off a pretty disappointing defeat to Fulham, when we got caught in the ass, let's be honest, in the last few minutes of the game. And we need to win this game because this is the only potential silverware that we can get this season. Currently it's a 6th place Man United versus 17th place Nottingham Forest, but again, don't let that fool you. A Premier League team can give you a game on any day, and it's a cup game, so cup games are really unpredictable. I would expect Forest to want to go out there and do the best they can, because at the end of the day, this is their only chance at silverware too. So I would suggest that, if we're not on it today, we are going to get hurt pretty badly. But moving on. So looking really quickly at the press conference, or the pre-match press conference, should I say, it was asked. Tenor was asked about the importance of this game and more towards morale moving forward. And do you know what? It's a very good question, because if we lose this game, what do we have to play for other than trying to get into the Champions League spot? We've seen the effects of not having competitions to play for, not having silverware to play for, that can have on teams and players. And the last thing we want is heads down and the team to go and approach from a negative standpoint after today's game if we were to lose and not have a chance to get any silverware. But so he talked about it, and basically we were talking about how every game is a must-win game, and how we went 2 months undefeated and we won all our games, and then all of a sudden we lose one and all the pressure is back on. So it's one of those things where we need to make sure that tonight we win, stay into the competition where we can win silverware, keep the players motivated and keep going from here. He was also asked about the fact that he's not afraid of using young players. He's thrown in quite a few young players, even dropping some senior players, and there was a real focus on Anthony and whether or not he would be made available in the summer. He used Forson. Diallo was the first sub on, so it means that Anthony has kind of fallen down the pecking order. And Ten Hag basically clapped back and said, I can't win. Essentially, I get criticised. I was criticised when I was using Mainu and when I wasn't using Mainu. Those same critics that criticised me when I started using him, now the ones saying that I'm begging for him to play for England. And then with Forson, it was something very similar. Whoever's on the chat, I'm really sorry. I don't have the chat up. I don't know how to get it up, so I'm sorry. WhatsApp me and I'll answer your question. Knowing that it's a chat rate, it's probably Steve-O, knowing that. But anyways, moving back on it. So going back to it and talking about the fact that he had something similar with Garnacho when, he was being used and all of a sudden he was being criticised because he wasn't using him enough, and then when he used him, he was using him too much, and he talked about Anthony a little bit and talked about the fact that what happened at the start of the year with Brazil, the whole case that he's going through obviously affected him mentally more than anything, because he's quite a confidence player, and unfortunately for him it did knock his confidence, and that they're supporting him in trying to get him back to fully fitness, because obviously time off would equal less time on the pitch, and that he's turned the corner, and he's quite there. But there was a real focus around Anthony in this pre-match press conference, and sort of the media trying to attack him and use him as almost trying to use him to attack Ten Hag with, because he's Ten Hag's player. But big decision by Ten Hag in terms of dropping him for the last game, and I assume that that's going to be the same here moving forward. He got asked if he feels on trial a little bit, because obviously all these changes happening in upper management. Does he feel like he is right now playing for his job? And he said no. Said, but I want to win every game, which was really positive to hear in terms of the fact that he does want to win every game. But, what else is he going to say? Let's be honest here. He said he has really good communication with the owners, with Sir Jim, Sir Dave Brailsford, and with some of the others within that team. And outside noise doesn't really bother him, is what he said. He said he's focused on his job, and my job is to get wins for Manchester United. Focusing on Forest a little bit, obviously, Nuno Espirito Santo plays very differently to how Steve Cooper used to play. They used to play a 3-5-2 formation, and he switches to a 4-2-3-1. And the way that they play is it's quite compact defensively, and then he likes to play the ball up from the back, which we could use to our advantage if we put some high intensity presses in there. Although missing Rasmus, I think we'll struggle with that, to be completely honest. Get your water in, force your fluids, guys. And Yeah, so they play quite compact, but they're also quite quick on the counter attacks. You know, they've got some big threat there. Players like Anthony Elanga, maybe you've heard of that name as a Man United fan. We all know who he was. A little bit disappointed that we sold him, but you know, it is what it is. In terms of goals scored, if I look at the Premier League record, they've scored 34 goals, which isn't too dissimilar to us, which was 36 goals. You know, so they do have a similar scoring rate to us at the moment. But let's be honest, we've been pretty crap at scoring goals this year. So, but it does show that they do have that threat going forward. And then in terms of goals conceded, that's where they're a little bit weaker than us. They have been found vulnerable at times this year and conceded lots of goals. I think they've conceded 48 goals to our 36, and we've been quite vulnerable at the back. So that says a lot about Forest themselves defensively. Form-wise, in our last 5, we've won 4 and we've lost 1. That was the game against Fulham that we lost. We lost 2-1. We got caught on the counter-attack, basically got caught with the trousers down and got hit there. Our last 5 away games, we got 5 wins, which is good. It's great, you know, but the last loss we had away from him was actually at the City ground against Forest too, so that's quite concerning. In their last 5, Forest themselves, you know, have a 1 win, 2 draws, 2 losses in terms of their general form, and actually their home games is very similar. But the last game that we played, I think it was the 30th of December that we played them, was before these last 5 games at home. You know, our last 10 meetings we won 9, they've won 1. But the last game, we lost. So we cannot take for granted the fact that it is Nottingham Forest, a 17th place team in the Premier League. This is the FA Cup. League form does not matter in this competition. In this competition, everyone has won all their games. That's the bottom line. And I fully expect Forest to come out and to want to put on a good show tonight. In terms of squad news, not great news for us, to be honest with you. No returns, so that means Shaw, Martinez, Rasmus, Mount, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Martial, Malacia, all out, just to name a few. Maguire has been added to that list this week. He's not available for the game tonight. Bruno and Varane are doubtful, which is a big concern because we're missing them too. That's a lot of senior players out, and it will be quite a young team going out against Forest, which is fine. It is what it is, you know. But I'm hopeful that they will be back by tonight. Good news, Casemiro's back in. The cut on the head didn't result in a concussion. It was just a precaution that they took it off because it was bleeding all over the place. And then Lindelof, it seemed like he may have picked up an injury towards the end of the game, but he is fit to start tonight. So moving on to the team that I do think that I would start. Obviously, Onana in goal. At the moment, he's our best option. I would have played Bayendia once upon a time, but he's not been given an opportunity, so I've kind of given up on that being something that's going to happen. In front of them, I would go with Lindelof down the left. I would bring in Johnny Evans to replace Maguire because obviously Maguire's ruled out. Varane and Dalot. Now, if Varane's not fit, there's a couple options there that we can play. We could bring in Willy Kwambala, who did pretty well in the few games that he played. And then on the left side, failing that, we could always bring Amrabat, who's played at left back for us, and we could always shift Lindelof into centre defence alongside Evans. They've played together a couple of times, actually played pretty well together as a centre back partnership, so that's another option. In front of them, obviously we've got Casemiro and Mainu. I think there's not much more I need to say about that. I think it's one of those situations where Casemiro and Mainu as a partnership do pretty well together. I think Mainu brings a freshness. I think Casemiro has not been the same player that we saw last year. Last game he actually played okay until he got subbed off with the cut that he had on top of his head, and I'd like to keep him going, keep trying to get him into match fitness. I feel like he's the type of player that takes a while to get into fitness, and if you leave him out, it's almost like hitting a reset button with him, and he will fall down back to not being fit on that sharp again. In front of them, you got Bruno. Now, Bruno again is doubtful for tonight, so I'll put him in because at the moment he's not being ruled out. However, we do have a few options here. We could play Ericsson at this point. He's just returning from injury, or there's McTominay. The problem with McTominay here is that I don't feel he's a very creative player. I feel like he actually slows the tempo down as a team, and if we're trying to hit them fast on the break, it's counterproductive to play him at centre attacking mid. One player we could use here is Forson. He played at the right wing on the weekend, but actually, traditionally, Forson has always played as a centre attacking midfielder for Manchester United youth teams and the youth squad, so he's always something that we could do there and shift him into the middle. On the wings, I've gone with Garnacho down the left, and I've gone with Diallo on the right, not Forson. I thought Diallo looked very good those last 15 minutes against Fulham, and I would honestly consider starting him tonight instead of Forson or Anthony or anything. Anthony obviously has fallen down the pecking order and isn't even a consideration at the moment to be starting. And then up front, I have actually gone for McTominay. So you will notice that I have dropped Rashford. And the reason I've dropped Rashford is just because of his effort. I am sick and tired of seeing this man walk around the pitch and just look like he doesn't want to be there. And quite frankly, we don't need players like that on the pitch at the moment. Right now, we need players that are going to give full effort, give everything they can. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he plays tonight and there's a reaction because we lost the game on the weekend. But regardless of that, I want to see players sort of running and chasing and trying to get in there at the end of the ball. And Rashford didn't look like he wanted to be on the pitch last game. I don't know if he's had his head turned with all these rumours about PSG at the end of the year. I don't know what's going on with him, but right now I think it would be smart and prudent to leave him out of the starting lineup. Or if you're going to play him on the wing. Don't play him up front. But I'd rather see a youngster get a chance in the cup game tonight, to be completely honest. Now, what I think Erik ten Hag will actually do, I think Erik ten Hag will start Diallo tonight based on how the game went. If it's not Diallo, will be Forson. I do think that Rashford starts up front, though, with Erik ten Hag. I think we haven't got another striking option. Martial and Rasmus are both injured. I don't think he will throw McTominay up front. I think he might play him at the cam position. But for some reason, I don't think he's seen that McTominay actually is more effective up top. He doesn't bring as much energy as Rasmus does, but he does get at the end of balls. He does fight for the ball offensively. So whilst defensively his energy levels are quite low, offensively they're quite high, which at the moment we're getting neither from Rashford. So in my opinion, I wouldn't do it, but I can see Erik ten Hag doing this. In terms of a prediction, I see us winning tonight 2-1. I think it's going to be a very hard-fought match. I don't think it's going to be easy for anyone. But I think one of the things that's going to be absolutely crucial, I like to give 3 focus points, is one, we need players to stop hiding behind each other and trying to get other players to do the work. Against Fulham, there were 2 players that looked like they wanted to be there and really tried to take the game by the scruff of the neck, and that was Harry Maguire, who's injured tonight. I thought he had a very good game against Fulham, both defensively and offensively, which, it's big praise for Maguire considering a year ago I was saying we should sell him. In fact, a few months ago I was saying we should sell him. So big praise for Harry Maguire, and it was good to see that. And Garnacho was the only other player that I saw that actually got the ball, started attacking defenders, trying to create something, trying to do something positive there. Apart from that, what I would like to see is on the ball, not to be wasteful with our passing, keep the game under control. Forest are going to be looking to hit on the counter. They've got some pace there with players like Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs-White, Elanga, and is it Anwonyini? The other player, I don't know how you say that name, but I saw clips of him and he looked quite dangerous, to be fair. But Elanga is the main threat in my opinion there. Other than that, maybe Hudson-Odoi on his day also can be quite dangerous. But don't be wasteful with the passing. Make sure we don't get hit on the counter attack. And then last but not least, I just want to see some energy. I want to see some passion, a little bit of heart. Look like you want to be there. Look like you want to play for the badge. There's nothing worse as a fan than watching your team play and just seeing players sort of walk and let players dribble past them. Some of my defenders will get that. No, as a team, just show a bit of cojones. You know what I mean? Just let the fans know that you care. But that's it for me today, guys. Big game tonight, like I said, 5th round of the FA Cup. We need a win to have some silverware to play for this year. Otherwise, this season could turn quite ugly, I'll be honest with you, because we have fallen behind in the race for top 4, and we've got ground to make up there. So a win tonight would sort of maybe galvanise us, especially with the game coming up this weekend, which is Manchester City, which is going to be very tough, and probably a very tough watch, if I'm completely honest with you. I'm not expecting anything from that game. I am expecting to potentially take a battering, so hopefully tonight we can win, keep going in the cup, keep morale up, and I'll see you in the post-match, guys.